Welcome to Reach for the Top, the game in which some of the area's brightest students have an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge. 24 teams originally entered into our preliminary elimination, and 8 teams have made it to the provincial finals. Now, let's meet today's contestants.
Representing Toronto East and Woburn Collegiate from Scarborough, we have Trevor Knight, Peter Shirk, Jason Malinowski, and David Riddell, and their teacher coaches, Ms. Mary Doucette and Mr. Larry Rice. Representing Etobcoke and Martingrove Collegiate Institute, we have Simon Pinder, Mike Milliton, Ken Eng, Brooke Clark, and their teacher coach, Mrs. Pat Beecham. Welcome to the second game of the semifinals of the provincial championships. Welcome, panel. Y'all ready to go? Quick questions just to make sure. In what did Andrew Carnegie make his fortune? Peter Shirk.
Music?
No.
Andrew Carnegie. Etobcoke. Ken.
Real estate?
Steel. No. What's the capital of Taiwan? Mike.
Formosa? No.
Taiwan. Peter.
Taipei?
Correct.
What is the registration number of the USS Enterprise? David.
NCC 1701.
Correct.
Who discovered oxygen? Mike.
Lavoisier? No.
Who discovered David.
Priestley?
Correct.
What U.S. state was once declared an independent republic in 1836? Jason.
Texas? Correct.
That's for sure. Okay. We are pleased to introduce the man with the answers, Steve Officer. Steve, how you doing?
Good to be here, Mark.
Nice to see you aboard. We have the trophy. This is what it's all about, and we're getting closer and closer to the winning of that.
Point of this thing is, if this game is as tough as that previous semifinal, I've got my work cut out.
We're looking at a white-knuckled judge here. This man works really hard. Let's put him to work in a couple of minutes. 2 important announcements. Reach for the top. Continue. Smiling, eager faces. Okay, everybody ready to go? The occult. We're journeying into the occult. Ooh, with what does a scryer tell Mike?
Satanism?
No. With what does a scryer tell fortunes? Woburn. Jason?
Tea leaves? No.
Crystal ball. In alchemy, what was the name of the thing that was supposed to turn lead into gold?
The Philosopher's Stone?
Correct.
Who tells fortunes by communicating with the dead? Mike.
An intermediary?
No.
Woburn and Peter Shirk.
A medium?
No.
A necromancer. Music. For 10 points, I want you to identify both the artist and the title of the album where you'll find this song.
You must understand.
Peter.
Tina Turner.
And the name
Fiddle.
of the album.
Time.
Mike.
Tina Turner, Private Dancer.
Correct.
That's the truth. Okay. Mike has all of Tina Turner's albums. Scramble for 5 points. In the face of what structure did John F. Kennedy pronounce the words "ich"?
Berlin Wall?
Correct.
Okay. Woburn, these are yours. Dealing with the Berlin Wall, when was the Berlin Wall first built?
1961.
Trevor?
1961? Correct.
What was the primary purpose of this wall? Peter?
To prevent the flood of East Germans going to the west?
Correct.
Under whose political leadership did East Germany finally open the wall?
Yes.
Peter?
Modrow?
No.
Egon Krenz. Tried. Woburn 75, Etobcoke 10. These Tibetan tribes are skilled at mountaineering. Mike?
They're Sherpas? Correct.
That's right. These pastoral and hunting people inhabit Kenya and Tanzania. They are? Mike?
The Bush people?
No.
Woburn? Jason?
Hottentots? No.
The Maasai. What native people did Karen Blixen? Mike?
Zulus? No.
She lived among these people in Kenya. What's the name of the people? Woburn? Jason?
Kalahari Bushmen? No.
Karen Blixen's sobriquet is Isaac Dinison. She lived among the Kikuyu. Disease and disorders. This disorder, called Minamata disease, is, Peter?
Mercury poisoning?
Correct.
If one is suffering from mycosis, what kind of... Mike?
I? No.
What kind of organism has infected that person? Jason.
Virus?
No.
Fungus. If one suffers from narcolepsy, what does one suddenly do? Peter.
Fall asleep.
Correct.
What degenerative disease? Mike.
That would be Parkinson's.
No.
What degenerative disease of the brain has been mistaken for senility? Jason.
Alzheimer's disease.
Correct.
On to art now. We would like you to identify the artists who created the following portraits. Let's have a look at number 1. A Dutch artist. Peter.
Rembrandt.
Correct.
Portrait of an 83-year-old woman. Number 2. Here's an Italian. Peter.
Modigliani.
Correct.
Self-portrait. Number 3. 20th century. Peter.
Pablo Picasso.
Correct.
And number 4. A court painter. Mike.
Velasquez.
No.
Court painter portrayed. Jason.
Holbein.
No.
Francois Clouet, portrait of Charles IX of France. Love letters. I'll read a short passage from a love letter written to or by a famous person. You identify either the recipient or the writer of the letter. The ardor with which you long to embrace me is fully equaled by the affection which leads me to desire no gratification greater than that of passing Jason.
Shakespeare?
No.
No greater than passing my whole life in your society. The writer was Madame du Barry, replying to a letter written by whom? Martingrove. Ooh, Mike.
Robespierre?
No.
That'd be King Louis XV. Here's another one. I hope before long to crush you in my arms and cover you with a million kisses burning as thought beneath the equator. Be still my heart, Jason.
Mike Tyson.
No.
Well, give him 5 points for originality. Anyway, where were we? Josephine was the recipient of the letter. Who was her absent husband, Mike?
Napoleon.
Correct.
Here's another one. Think of me sometimes when the Alps and ocean divide us, but they never will unless you wish it. Countess Giuicoli received this letter from her lover, a famous English poet who lived in exile in Italy. He was, Peter Shirk?
Byron.
Correct.
Lord Byron. Okay. Name the entertainers who were born with the following names. Doris Van Kappelhoff. Mike.
Doris Day.
Correct.
Archibald Leach. Mike.
That was,
Time.
Time's up. Jason.
Cary Grant.
Correct.
Steve Land Morris. Mike.
Steve Winwood.
No.
Steve Land Morris. Jason.
Stevie Wonder.
Correct.
Dino Crocetti. Jason.
Dean Martin.
Correct.
Geography. What's the longest river in Ireland? Mike.
The Ire.
No.
Longest river in Ireland. Trevor.
The Cork? No.
The Shannon. What 2 countries are separated by the Pyrenees? Mike.
Spain and France.
Correct.
In what modern country is Transylvania located? Mike.
Romania.
Correct.
At the moment, anyway. On iron, which English general was known as the Iron Duke? Mike.
Churchill?
No.
The Iron Duke. Woburn.
Time.
The Duke of Wellington. Which Machiavellian 19th century statesman was known as the Iron Mike?
Otto von Bismarck.
Correct.
What was the name given to the mysterious prisoner in Alexander? Mike?
The man in the Iron Mask.
Correct.
Yes. What royal rank is just below Prince? Mike?
Viscount.
No.
Right below Prince, we have Peter.
Duke.
Correct.
What term describes a group of crows? David?
A calling.
No.
Group of crows. Simon?
Murder?
A
Correct.
murder of crows. The Suez Canal was closed after the... Mike?
Nasser.
After
No.
the Arab-Israeli War in 1967. When did it reopen? Woburn? Trevor?
1969.
No.
75. What presidential cabinet nomination was rejected by the United States? Mike?
Tower.
Correct.
What American astronomer first put forward the Big Bang Theory? Mike?
Hubble.
Correct.
Hubble was the one. We'll see a couple of important messages, meet a very interesting person, and be back with One-on-One as Reach for the Top continues.
It's a superstar lineup on the next Entertainment Tonight. First, Mel Gibson is back. Find out what it's like to play the role of fearless...
Okay. Just before we go one-on-one, I'd like you to meet a very distinguished individual who's worked pretty hard these past few days, too. I'd like you to meet Paul Rowe for Saunders Secondary School in London. Paul.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, I'm from Saunders in London, and this is Richard Dice. We're both on the school reach team, and we made it to the Provincials through school reach. And we got to stay at the Delaware dorm at the UWO and get to go on the TV, and we've had a pretty good time, let me tell you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We're dealing with lakes. Panel one-on-one. In what countries are the following lakes found? Trevor, Simon, the Aral Sea. Simon.
USSR.
Correct.
Great Bear Lake. Simon.
Canada.
Correct.
Peter. Mike.
It's okay.
Let's try this again. Lake Titicaca. Mike.
Peru.
Correct.
Reindeer Lake. Mike.
That's up in Sweden.
No.
Reindeer Lake. Peter.
Canada.
Correct.
Yes. Jason. Ken. Lake Baikal. Ken.
Israel.
No.
Lake Baikal. Jason.
Iraq.
No.
USSR. Brador Lake. Ken.
USSR.
Brador Lake. Jason.
Denmark.
No.
Canada. Great Salt Lake. Brooke.
The United States.
Correct.
Athabasca. Brooke.
Canada.
Correct.
Okay, we got 195 for Woburn, 160 for Martingrove. What's the byproduct that is created when one burns hydrogen? Jason.
Water.
Correct.
What kind of alcohol is found in alcoholic... Mike.
That's ethanol.
Yes.
In the process of sublimation, what does this... Peter?
It goes straight from solid form to gas form.
Correct.
Right, without going through the liquid state. Current events. What was the official flag of Canada, which... Mike?
The red ensign.
Yes.
Prime Minister Lester Pearson insisted on a new design in order to symbolize... David?
Pearson Pennant.
No.
An independent Canada. Opposition leader John Diefenbaker wanted the new design to include which symbols of ties with Britain and France? Martingrove? Mike?
The blue color and the fleur-de-lis.
No.
The Union Jack and the fleur-de-lis. What was the design favored by Pearson called the Pearson Pennant? Mike?
It was two bars of red on the side and a red maple leaf in the center.
No.
Woburn and Trevor.
Two bars of blue and 3 red maple leafs on a white background.
Correct.
That's the one. All right, get out the baseball cards for some clues here, guys. Who is the player with the record for the most all-time hits? Simon?
Pete Rose.
Correct.
You know, I'll bet... No, I wouldn't. Who is the player with the all-time... yeah. Who is the player with the all-time home run record? David?
Henry Aaron.
Correct.
755. What player scored the most runs in a professional career? Runs. Simon?
Ricky Anderson.
No.
Woburn? Trevor?
Lou Brock.
No.
Ty Cobb with 2,245. Here's a what am I question. First clue, correctly answered, 40 points. As a site of a future town, I was where the first astronomical observations were made in Canada in 1769. What town am I? For 40 points. Mike?
Richmond.
No.
Peter?
Sudbury.
No.
I was named for the first Duke of Marlborough. For 30 points. David?
Halifax.
No.
First Duke of Marlborough. Martingrove. Simon?
Fredericton.
No.
In the 1940s, the U.S. military used me as a base for air operations during World War II. And, Mike?
Valcartier.
No.
And later as a joint Canadian-American training and experimental facility for 20 points. Woburn, what am I? Trevor?
Jasper.
No.
National Geographic magazine and its television program have featured the polar bears in my area. Peter?
Churchill, Manitoba.
Churchill, Manitoba, 10 points for Woburn. Topics music now, gentlemen. Identify the singer or rock group performing the following selections. Here's the first one. Trevor.
At Shop Boy.
Always on my mind. Number 2. David.
The Eurythmics.
No.
Simon.
Corey Hart.
Sunglasses at Night. And number 3. Peter.
Brian Adams.
Cuts like a knife. Okay.
Yeah, no, it sounded like...
Letters. What letter on a baseball scorecard means Simon?
K.
Correct.
Strikeout. The letter K also represents what element? Mike.
That's potassium.
Correct.
What Irish prefix means descendant of? Jason.
Oh.
Correct.
O apostrophe. Canadiana. We would like you to identify the following Canadians of the present. Who was the Canadian ambassador to the United Nations from 1980? Simon.
Stephen Lewis.
Correct.
Who's been Newfoundland Premier since... Trevor?
Clyde Wells. Correct.
Who has been the governor of the Bank of Canada? Mike?
Peterson.
No.
Since 1987.
John
David?
Crow? Correct.
Who was the founder and co-chairman of the Canadian Centre for Advanced Film Studies? Peter?
Norman Jewson.
Correct.
Events of that wonderful year, 1983. The last episode of TV comedy shown on February 28, 1983.
MASH?
Correct.
Synchronicity was an album released. Peter?
The Police.
Correct.
Which Philippine politician? Mike?
Aquino.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. For 5 points, we'll scramble for this. What film directed by Roger Corman had later incarnations as an off-Broadway musical by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, and then a 1986 film adaptation of the musical? What are we looking for here? The film, the Broadway play, and the film again. Title? Peter?
The Glass Menagerie.
No.
Martingrove? Simon?
Color Purple.
No.
Little Shop of Horrors. Remaining questions deal with a 1986 film adaptation. Little Shop of Horrors featured a carnivorous plant named? Peter?
Rocky.
No.
Martingrove. The name of the plant?
Time.
Audrey 2. What comedian who had? Mike?
Steve Martin.
Correct.
What Muppet manipulator directed? Mike?
Frank Oz.
Correct.
The pretext for Nazi Germany's occupation of Czechoslovakia. Trevor?
Occupation of Sudetenland. Correct.
What does RNA stand for? David?
Ribonucleic acid. Correct.
In which body of water would I find Southampton? Mike?
English Channel.
No.
In Southampton Island. In which body of water? Woburn. Trevor?
Baffin Strait. No.
Hudson Bay. What's the name for the NBA's Houston team? David?
The Rockets.
Correct.
The Leroy, the Tud Hope, and the Thomas, and the Russell were all names of what early?
Hotels?
David?
No.
Mike?
Explorers.
No.
Automobiles, Canadian automobiles. Don't see many Leroys around on the road, do you, anymore? Entertainment. Who directed this year's new weekly drama series, Twin Peaks? Mike?
David Lynch.
Correct.
Who played the title role in the film Driving Miss... Mike?
Jessica Tandy.
Correct.
What was the name of Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball's? Mike?
I Love Lucy.
No.
TV production studio, Woburn. Jason?
Desilu.
Correct.
Astronomy. Discovered by detectors aboard Explorer 1, what are the bands composed of high-energy protons and electrons beyond David?
Van Allen belts?
Correct.
How many Earth days does it take for Mercury to... Jason?
88.
Correct.
What galaxy is closest to our Mike?
Andromeda.
Correct.
Literature. Who wrote Madame Bovary? Peter?
I don't know.
Time.
Brooke?
Gustave Flaubert.
Correct.
Gustave Flaubert was what we were looking for. In what country did... Mike?
France.
No.
In what country did Lord Byron die? Woburn? Peter?
Italy?
No.
Greece. The musical My Fair Lady, Mike,
Pygmalion.
Correct.
by George Bernard Shaw. Okay, we're looking at 385 for Woburn, 310 for Martingrove. For 10 points, gentlemen, in what Soviet Socialist Republic on the Caspian Sea has ethnic strife, Peter?
Azerbaijan.
Correct.
Okay, speaking of Azerbaijan, the Azeris, and what ethnic minority, Trevor?
Armenians. Correct.
What's the name of the Azerbaijani, Mike?
Nagorno-Karabakh.
No.
The name of the Azerbaijani capital in which much of the fighting normally took place, Trevor?
Correct.
Gesundheit. A nearby republic... Gee. A nearby republic, Soviet Armenia, has long coveted what Armenian, Mike?
That's Nagorno-Karabakh.
Correct.
That's easy for him to say, and I'm glad he did.
All right, we have 415 for Woburn, 320 for Martingrove. Mathematics, if x equals 5, y equals 3, z equals 0, evaluate the following. What does 6 times y plus 2 times z equal? Jason.
28. No.
Simon.
18. Correct.
You got it. What does, well, we'll never know. On to the snappers to close things off. In which book of Gulliver's Travels would I find the land of the... Mike.
The 4th book.
Yes.
What is the precocious-sounding word that Mary Poppins... Mike.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Correct.
He's good at that, isn't he? What animal is considered the symbol of Manitoba? Mike.
The bison.
Correct.
The 720-kilometer Bruce Trail connects Queenston with... Mike.
Manitoulin Island.
No.
Connects Queenston with Peter.
Tobermory?
Correct.
How many people are pictured in The Last Supper as painted by... David.
13. Correct.
Who led the Mormons to Utah? Mike.
Smith.
No.
Mormons to Utah. David.
Brigham Young? Correct.
What is the tundra area of the Northwest... Mike.
Arctic.
Northwest Territories called?
Time.
The Barren Lands, or the Barrens. What is the common name for sodium chloride? Mike.
Salt.
Correct.
What revolution began in 1789? Mike.
French.
Correct.
What color is the caterpillar stage of? Mike.
Blue.
No.
Of the monarch butterfly. Woburn. David.
Orange? No.
White with black and yellow stripes. What is the movement in painting called which makes use of arrangements of Mike?
Dada.
No.
Makes use of arrangements of geometrical forms to represent what is seen. Woburn. Jason.
Cubism.
Correct.
The calumet is the French term for what Plains Indian ritual item? Calumet. Mike.
Peace pipe.
Correct.
Who composed Rhapsody in Blue? Mike.
Gershwin.
Correct.
Who invented the first light bulb? Mike.
Edison.
Correct.
What 50 star sang the best-known version of Chantilly Lace? Mike.
That was Big Bopper.
Correct.
Carrick, New Brunswick is also known as the center for what culture? Mike.
Scottish.
No.
What culture? Woburn. Trevor.
Correct.
Okay, time's up. Whoa. Got a little tense there. We'll be right back. Close to a record as far as total score there is concerned.
885 points. Just a tremendous effort by both teams. And actually, Martingrove made a real good comeback in the second half, but they just couldn't overcome the early lead by Woburn. 465 to 420. Woburn advances to the final.
That's right. Next game, Woburn versus Waterloo Oxbridge. Join us then en route for the top.
Tune in for an in-depth look at children with special needs and their integration into the school system on Kids Belong Together, tomorrow at 8. You may be able to help solve a crime on America's Most Wanted, next on Channel 11.